I've had a lot of requests for tutorials on photo editing, and while I am pretty much all self-taught and certainly no expert, I do really enjoy photo editing, and I would like to share with you guys some of the things that I do when I edit photos. So today we're going to talk about skin retouching. I'm going to show you two different techniques for retouching skin. They can be used separately or they can be used together. We're going to be testing it out on an image from my May Patron-exclusive photo shoot, which was a spring-inspired original elf costume. I am using Photoshop CS5 and I am also using a drawing tablet. The drawing tablet is absolutely unnecessary. It's just something that I'm comfortable with. CS5, you don't need CS5 specifically, but you do need Photoshop to do these things. You could probably do similar things in other programs, but I am not familiar with them, so this is a Photoshop specific tutorial. First of all, I shot this in Camera Raw. I recommend shooting in Camera Raw if you can. The files are bigger, but it allows your camera to capture more information, so you're less likely to lose information into blown out or really dark spots in your image. It's just way easier to work with and gives you a lot more options than working from a JPEG. Okay, so the first technique I'm going to show you is called frequency separation editing. I'm going to tell you right out that I have downloaded an action that allows me to just create the starting frequency separation layers very quickly and easily. You can do this manually, but it's a pain and I use frequency separation a lot, so I just downloaded this free action to make it easier. I will put the link to download that action, and that link also includes directions on how to set up your frequency separation layers manually. So I've run the action. I have here in my folder my two frequency separation layers. They are labeled HF for high frequency and LF for low frequency. Just to show you what this means, the low frequency layer is just a regular copy of the layer that has had a Gaussian blur applied to it. The high frequency image is just a grayscale version of your image with all of the color removed and all of the texture retained. So basically what we've done is we have separated our image into color and texture on separate layers so that we can affect the color without affecting the texture and the texture without affecting the color. One common mistake that people make when editing skin is they'll just apply a blur to skin and then it looks plastic because you can't see any pores or any little hairs or all of the things that make skin look like human skin. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to even out the general color of the skin on the face. So just so that some sections aren't redder or yellower or grayer than others, this will help make the skin appear more smooth and more uniform. First thing to do is use your lasso tool and set a feather radius on it. I'm going to use 10 pixels here, but it'll depend on the size of your image. Feather just makes the edge of your selection softer so you don't have a hard line. And then we're going to apply a Gaussian blur to it. So now if I grab another section of skin and use that same feature with Control F, you'll see that it applies the same Gaussian blur to the area. Yeah, this might be a little bit of overkill, but I really kind of hate how my skin turned out in these photos, so I'm gonna roll with it. Okay, so now that we've done a little smoothing, I'm just going to hide the frequency separation layer really fast so you can see what a strong difference that's made. It still looks very realistic and pretty unedited when it's applied, but when you remove it, you can see just how much inconsistency of color and of shadow was on the face before we did the edit. Okay, so now we've evened out the color, and the next step is to even out the texture. So we're going to go to the high frequency layer, and you will see some spots like the ones under the eyes where there are these little lines. I'm using the spot healing tool right now. Basically what the spot healing tool does is whatever you highlight, it gathers information from the spots around that area, and it tries to just recreate that area. So this is an automated tool, which means you can't always control it and sometimes it'll do things you don't want it to do, but overall it's pretty good if you're in a big open area of skin. It's pretty good at finding what you want it to change the skin into. So that's frequency separation. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to reopen that original file and I'm going to show you the other method that I use to retouch skin. So as I said before, you can use both of these methods together, but I'm just going to show them to you separately so you can see how each method can be applied to any given problem that you might be trying to fix on somebody's skin. For this method, I recommend duplicating your background layer. This will allow you to quickly hide the layer you're working on to see if you have changed anything too much or done anything too crazy, and it'll also give you a backup layer in case you like royally screw something up and need to start over from scratch. So that spot where we found the spot healing tool, the little band-aid, if you click and hold on that, you can find the patch tool. It's the shape of a little patch. The patch tool actually works a lot like frequency separation, where it retains the color of the section that you select, but it steals the texture from a different spot. So for example, if we want to get rid of these under eye patches, we can select an area under the eye, and then we're going to click on the patch we selected and drag it onto a different area that we want the program to pull from. So as you can see, all of these sections look ridiculous right now under the eye because it's showing us the entire section, texture and color. But when you release it after selecting a section, it'll only grab the texture. See? I find the patch tool to actually be a much preferable way of removing blemishes than the spot healing tool because you have complete control over where that texture comes from. The spot healing tool is basically doing what the patch tool does, but it's doing it automatically, so you have no control. And of course, you can still use frequency separation for the overall color and then come back in with the patch tool to deal with the blemishes and problems with texture. So those are the basics of how I retouch skin. Hopefully both of these methods will be useful to you and you will probably end up picking one that ends up being your favorite. The goal with these kind of techniques is to eliminate blemishes and smooth out color in a way that looks realistic and that doesn't look over-edited. So you get to decide for yourself how far you go, how much you blur, how much you patch, and how far you're willing to go from your original image. I hope this is helpful to you, and if you use this method to edit any photos, I would love to see your work. And if you have any problems with it, or you get confused, or something doesn't work out right, or you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I would absolutely love to talk you through how these methods work for me and help you if you have any problems. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.